In the early hours of July 3rd, 2010, Raoul Moat, a former nightclub bouncer armed with a sawn-off shotgun, stepped out of the shadows outside a house in Berley where his ex-girlfriend, Samantha Stobbart, was staying. Consumed by jealousy and rage, he launched a violent attack, shooting 3 people, including Stobbart, before disappearing into the night. What followed was a 7-day manhunt, one of the biggest in modern British history. Newcastle was gripped in fear as police scrambled to track Moat down. It all came to a head in a tense, 6-hour standoff, ending with Moat taking his own life. Welcome to Crime Pulse, where we unravel Britain's most notorious criminal sagas. In this episode, we dive into Moat's life, his crimes, and the disturbing legacy he left behind. Subscribe, share, and join us as we expose this chilling chapter of true crime. What happens when a killer becomes a hero to some? When Raoul Moat's rampage ended, the violence wasn't the only thing he left behind. He also sparked a dangerous fascination that refuses to die. Just 2 months after his death, Greater Manchester Police Chief Constable Sir Peter Fay warned of the dangerous allure, writing, "There have always been some who have hero-worshipped criminals, whether it's Ned Kelly, Al Capone, or Billy the Kid. There has always been a section of society who hate the police as the symbol of what they see as an unfair society." More than a decade on, Moat's infamy hasn't faded. It has warped into a disturbing legacy. To some, he became a twisted symbol of defiance, idolized by the violent and disenfranchised who, in Fay's words, hate the police. The fallout has been chilling. In 2015, a gun-obsessed man from North Wales was jailed for plotting to ambush officers, claiming he wanted to be the next Moat. In 2023, a Lancashire man was imprisoned for threatening to kill a policewoman like Raoul Moat. And most shockingly, in July 2024, a Merseyside council removed a bench plaque engraved with, "In loving memory of Raoul Moat, 1973 to 2010, taken too soon." How does a man who brought so much chaos become a folk hero to some? And what truly drove him to unleash his deadly spree? Raoul Moat's path to violence began in a childhood shadowed by instability and longing. Born on June 17, 1973, in Newcastle upon Tyne, he grew up in the Fenham area, in a working-class family fractured by absence. His father, later revealed to be Peter Blake from Birmingham, vanished before Moat was born, leaving a deep void that fueled his yearning for connection. His mother, Josephine Healy, grappling with bipolar disorder, spent much of her time in mental hospitals, leaving young Raoul and his half-brother Angus in the care of their grandmother, a caring but overstretched presence who couldn't fully bridge the gap left by his parents. Moat found solace in small joys, like catching tadpoles with his friend Tony Laidler, a neighbour who became a lifelong ally. Together, they roamed Newcastle, hunting for creatures to add to their grandmother's koi pond, moments of adventure that hinted at Moat's desire for a stable family life he never had. As a teenager, Moat clashed repeatedly with his stepfather, whose disapproval and constant tension made him feel like an outcast in his own home. These early rejections planted the seeds of a need for control, and his temper began to surface in bursts of defiance against authority. By his late teens, Moat's physicality, standing 6'3" and weighing around 17 stone, set him apart. Drawn to bodybuilding to channel his anger, he sculpted a hulking physique that caught the eye of local club owners. In the early 1990s, he stepped into Newcastle's nightlife as a bouncer, his imposing frame and fierce demeanor making him a natural fit for the rowdy pub and club scene. The city's vibrant nightlife, with its crowded bars and electric energy, offered Moat a stage to assert dominance, masking the turmoil brewing inside. By his 20s, Moat's brushes with the law began to pile up. Over the years, he faced 7 charges and 12 arrests for minor infractions, traffic stops for faulty vehicle lights, routine checks, or petty disturbances. Each encounter deepened his belief that Northumbria police were unfairly targeting him, sowing the seeds of a paranoia that would fester. Seeking stability, Moat launched a tree surgery business in his late 20s, pouring his energy and savings into it. He dreamed it would ground him, but mounting debts and what he saw as relentless police scrutiny crushed his hopes, fueling a simmering resentment against a system he felt was out to ruin him. In 2004, at 31, a flicker of hope emerged when Moat met 16-year-old Samantha Stobbart amid the pulsing energy of Newcastle's club scene. As a bouncer, his commanding presence drew her in, and their relationship held promise. They welcomed a daughter, Chanel, and Moat gained custody of 2 children from a prior relationship, fulfilling his longing for fatherhood. Friends like Tony Laidler saw Moat's devotion to his kids, noting he was with them all the time, desperate to create the perfect family he never had. But beneath this facade, cracks formed. Moat's need to dominate led to cycles of domestic abuse, followed by remorseful attempts to win Samantha back. His paranoia grew, with Moat confiding to social services that he felt emotionally unstable, even seeking psychiatric help to quell his inner storms. A 2008 arrest for a minor public disturbance, which he believed was unjust, solidified his paranoia that Northumbria police were out to ruin him. By 2010, his 6-year bond with Samantha was crumbling under the weight of his jealousy and paranoia. That year, Moat's life unraveled further when he was sentenced to 18 weeks in Durham prison for assaulting a 9-year-old relative, his first time behind bars. The conviction, which he saw as another injustice, deepened his hatred for the system. As he walked free on July 1st, 2010, the resentments and insecurities of his past, his fractured childhood, failed business, police conflicts, and faltering relationships converged, pushing him toward a devastating outburst that would shake Newcastle to its core. On July 1st, 2010, Raoul Moat stepped out of Durham prison after serving just over 2 months of an 18-week sentence for assault. Within hours, he took to Facebook, venting his despair. "Just got out of jail, I've lost everything, my business, my property, and to top it all off, my lass of 6 years has gone off with someone else. I'm not 21 and I can't rebuild my life. Watch and see what happens." The news that Samantha Stobbart, his former partner, had begun a new life with Christopher Brown, a 29-year-old karate instructor, ignited a firestorm of jealousy within him. Samantha, desperate to keep Moat at bay, claimed Christopher was a police officer, a fateful lie that struck at the heart of Moat's deep-seated resentment toward Northumbria police. Fueled by this betrayal, Moat spent the next 48 hours meticulously plotting his revenge. He secured a sawn-off shotgun and altered its ammunition, swapping standard ball bearings for smaller, jagged metal fragments designed to cause devastating harm. His plan extended beyond confronting Samantha. It was a mission to punish everyone he believed had wronged him, with the police at the top of his list. In the early hours of July 3rd, at 2:40 a.m., the quiet streets of Berley, a residential suburb 7 miles from Newcastle's vibrant core, became the stage for Moat's explosive rage. Samantha and Christopher, who supported himself by delivering leaflets while building a new future, had spent the evening socializing at a friend's house, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. Moat, crouched under an open window, overheard them mocking him, each word stoking his fury. At 2:40 a.m., Christopher stepped outside to confront Moat, sensing a threat. Moat emerged from the shadows, his face set with grim determination. He fired 2 shots into Christopher's chest, and as the young man stumbled in a desperate attempt to escape, Moat reloaded and fired a 3rd fatal shot at close range. Inside, Samantha's mother frantically dialed the police, but Moat fired through a window, hitting Samantha in the arm and stomach. She collapsed, gravely wounded, as Moat vanished into the night, leaving behind a scene of chaos and heartbreak. Berley, unaccustomed to such brutality, was left reeling. As dawn broke, local journalists descended, gathering accounts from shaken neighbors who whispered of a vengeful ex-boyfriend fresh from prison. The deliberate execution of an unarmed man and the attack on a young mother shocked the community, shattering its sense of safety. The violence in Berley was only the beginning, as Moat's fury was about to take a darker turn, targeting the very institution he blamed for his downfall. Raoul Moat's rage, unquenched by the bloodshed in Berley, found a new target in Northumbria police, whom he blamed for his life's unraveling. His years of perceived slights had festered into a deep-seated conviction that the police were orchestrating his downfall, sabotaging his business, and fracturing his family. To Moat, they were not just authority figures, but personal adversaries who had stripped him of dignity and purpose. This obsession drove him to escalate his violence, transforming his personal vendetta into a direct assault on law enforcement. On July 4th, 2010, at 12:29 a.m., less than a day after the Berley shootings, Moat called Northumbria Police Headquarters, identifying himself as the gunman. Still believing Samantha Stobbart's lie that Christopher Brown was an officer, He admitted to the shootings and declared his intent to target police next, his words laced with chilling resolve. In a rambling 49-page letter delivered to the force, he declared war, writing, "The public need not fear me, but the police should, as I won't stop till I'm dead," a vow that underscored his relentless fury. Mere minutes after the call, Moat struck. In East Denton, along the bustling A1 motorway, PC David Rathband, a seasoned traffic officer and devoted father of two, sat in his patrol car on a roundabout, monitoring vehicles in the early morning darkness. The attack was not entirely random. Rathband had once confiscated Moat's van, a slight that fed into Moat's narrative of police persecution. Unaware that Moat had switched to a black Lexus, Rathband was exposed. Moat approached on foot, his shotgun gleaming in the darkness. With cold precision, he fired 2 shots through the passenger window, striking Rathband in the head and upper body. The officer slumped, gravely wounded, as Moat melted back into the night, leaving chaos in his wake. Rathband was rushed to Newcastle General Hospital in critical condition, having sustained head and upper body injuries. The shooting left him permanently blind. Soon after, Moat called police again, confessing to the attack. Officers pleaded with him to surrender for the sake of his 3 children, but their words fell on deaf ears. His resolve hardened by a desire for vengeance. The attack on Rathband sent ripples of shock through the police force and the wider community. Targeting an officer was a brazen act, one that shattered the unspoken boundary between criminal and law enforcement. Newcastle, still grappling with the horror of Berley, was gripped by a new wave of fear, its once safe streets now shadowed by the threat of a relentless gunman. Northumbria police, facing an unprecedented challenge, braced for a manhunt that would test their resolve against a man driven by vengeance and unbound by restraint. With 2 shootings in under 24 hours, Northumbria police launched a massive manhunt to capture Raoul Moat, now a fugitive driven by vengeance. The scale of the operation was unprecedented, transforming Newcastle's lively streets into a battleground of tension and fear. On July 4, 2010, as news of David Rathband's blinding spread, a reported sighting of Moat in Seaton Delaval, coupled with an armed robbery matching his description, briefly diverted police attention. By July 5th, tips from locals and intelligence reports pointed to a new focal point: Rothbury, a quiet village 30 miles north of Newcastle, where Moat was believed to be hiding in the wild, rugged outskirts. Rothbury, nestled among Northumberland's rolling hills, was a haven of quaint stone cottages and tight-knit community spirit, unaccustomed to the chaos Moat brought. The village's serene beauty stood in stark contrast to the escalating manhunt, as Northumbria police, bolstered by elite armed units from forces like Greater Manchester Police, mobilized over 160 officers. Helicopters buzzed overhead, sniffer dogs scoured the terrain, and a Royal Air Force aircraft swept the countryside from above, its thermal imaging hunting for signs of Moat. Roadblocks and a 2-mile exclusion zone encircled Rothbury, while schools received armed guards to protect children. Campsites, woodlands, and abandoned buildings became focal points as officers searched potential hiding spots, their radios crackling with urgency. The manhunt grew more complex, with reports that Moat had 2 companions. Carl Ness, a 30-year-old bodybuilder and former bouncer who bonded with Moat over their shared love of fitness, and Kuram Awan, a younger friend drawn in by loyalty. Initially mistaken for hostages, their true roles soon surfaced. Ness, whose struggles with unemployment mirrored Moat's, had driven him to Berley for the initial shootings and stood by during the attack on Rathband. A1, tethered to Ness's influence, helped gather supplies, from food to mundane items like barbecue sauce, as if caught in a grim escapade. Moat's commanding presence had pulled them into his orbit, convincing them to risk everything for his cause, despite little to gain. As the manhunt intensified, Northumbria police offered a £10,000 reward for information leading to Moat's capture, a plea to the public to help end the threat. Samantha Stobbart's father, Paul, appeared in a heartfelt video appeal, his voice trembling as he urged Moat to surrender for the sake of his children. "Raoul, think of your kids," he pleaded. "Turn yourself in before anyone else gets hurt." Despite these efforts, Moat remained elusive, slipping through the dense forests and riverbanks of Northumberland. Armed with his sawn-off shotgun, he taunted police through phone calls, vowing to continue his war against them. The quiet charm of Rothbury gave way to an eerie unease, with residents locking their doors and peering through curtains, their once peaceful village now a stage for a deadly game of cat and mouse. As the manhunt for Raoul Moat intensified in Rothbury, Northumbria police zeroed in on his shadowy allies, whose loyalty had prolonged his deadly evasion. On July 6, 2010, a critical breakthrough came when officers spotted Carl Ness and Karama 1 leaving a suspected hideout in the village's rugged outskirts. Initially mistaken for hostages, their true roles as willing participants, bound to Moat through shared struggles and his commanding presence, had become clear, complicating the hunt for the fugitive trio. Police acted swiftly, deploying armed units and negotiators to corner Ness and Awan in a tense operation near Rothbury's dense woodlands. Ness, the 30-year-old bodybuilder who had driven Moat to Berley and stood by during the attack on PC David Rathband, showed signs of strain, his loyalty wavering under the mounting pressure. Awan, the younger accomplice drawn in by devotion, had been gathering supplies to sustain their flight, but now faced the reality of capture. After a brief standoff, both men surrendered, their arrests marking a pivotal moment in the manhunt. Seized evidence, including supplies and communications linked to Moat, confirmed their active role in aiding his survival. The capture of Ness and Awan sent shockwaves through Rothbury's tight-knit community, where fear had already taken root. Residents, who had locked their doors against the spectre of Moat, now grappled with the knowledge that two others had willingly abetted his violence. For Northumbria police, the arrests were a bittersweet victory. While Moat remained at large, the loss of his allies isolated him, stripping away his support network as the manhunt pressed into its next phase. By July 7th, with the operation costing over £1 million, officers intensified their search, scouring the wilderness for a now lone fugitive whose cunning continued to haunt Rothbury's hills. On July 7th, 2010, Northumbria police uncovered a makeshift campsite on Rothbury's outskirts, a chilling testament to Raoul Moat's presence. Scattered among the debris was a dictaphone recording, revealing his seething anger at media portrayals that painted him as a monster. He accused journalists of twisting his story, fueling his obsession to control his public image and threatening retaliation against civilians for every perceived distortion. Alarmed by this escalation, police imposed a media blackout to curb further provocation, intensifying fears that Moat's wrath could soon engulf innocent residents, not just officers. Moat's survival skills rendered him a spectre in Northumberland's wilderness. The police operation, costing over £1 million, pushed resources to the brink. Officers grappled with the immense challenge of scouring vast, untamed landscapes while safeguarding a terrified community. Moat's knack for staying one step ahead tested their endurance, but the campsite discovery and fleeting sightings hinted that their efforts were closing in. The stakes were clear. Finding Moat was not just about capturing a fugitive but preventing another act of violence, with Rothbury's residents caught in the crosshairs. The recent arrests of his accomplices, Carl Ness and Karam Awan, on July 6th, had isolated Moat, stripping him of the support that had sustained his deadly flight. As the manhunt entered its fifth day, Moat's ability to evade capture showcased a desperate cunning. He hid in storm drains beneath Rothbury's edges, their damp, shadowed tunnels shielding him from the Royal Air Force aircraft scanning above. To survive, he scavenged scraps, even resorting to eating rats, a grim reflection of his determination to outwit the police. His defiance took a darker turn as he left taunting notes for the authorities, one scrawled with the chilling declaration, "I'm a killer and a maniac, but not a monster," as if to justify his actions while mocking the forces hunting him. These messages, tucked in secluded spots, fueled the manhunt's intensity, painting Moat as a man unyielding in his vendetta, yet desperate to control his narrative. The dense forests and winding riverbanks of Rothbury offered Moat cover, but they also tested his endurance. As helicopters buzzed overhead and sniffer dogs prowled the undergrowth, he moved with calculated stealth, exploiting the terrain's natural hideouts. The villagers, gripped by fear, whispered of sightings, shadows in the woods, rustles in the night, each rumor amplifying the tension. Moat's ability to remain elusive, despite the massive operation involving over 160 officers and advanced technology, turned him into a ghost haunting Northumberland's hills. Yet, with every passing hour, the noose tightened, pushing Moat closer to a reckoning that would bring the manhunt to its dramatic close. On July 9, 2010, Rothbury's serene riverbanks became a battleground as Northumbria police closed in on Raoul Moat, now alone after the arrest of his accomplices. Villagers were warned to stay inside as officers surrounded Moat on the bank of the River Coquet, where he stood, a sawn-off shotgun pressed to his neck in a chilling display of defiance. The 6-hour standoff that unfolded would mark the dramatic climax of one of Britain's largest manhunts. Moat, exhausted and cornered, held his weapon steady as negotiators pleaded for surrender, their voices cutting through the humid summer air, urging him to think of his 3 children. In a desperate bid to reach him, police brought Moat's best friend, Tony Laidler, to the scene, hoping his familiar voice could persuade Moat to stand down. The tension escalated with a bizarre twist. Former England footballer Paul Gascoigne arrived in a dressing gown, carrying chicken, a loaf of tiger bread, 4 cans of lager, and a fishing rod. Struggling with addiction, Gascoigne, half cut from drinking and snorting cocaine, claimed a personal connection to Moat, insisting they were good buddies from nightclub days or even school. His muddled reasoning fueled by about 8 lines of cocaine and whiskey. "He's going to need a drink," Gascoigne later recounted at a 2015 talk in Newcastle's Tyne Theatre, describing how his familiarity with Rothbury's fishing spots and the belief Moat was starving drove him to the scene. Police, wary of his erratic state, turned him away, refocusing on de-escalation. As the standoff stretched into the night, Northumbria police deployed experimental X-12 tasers, untested weapons supplied by a private firm, in a desperate attempt to prevent Moat's suicide. The tasers, controversial for their unproven reliability, were fired, but their timing, whether before or after Moat's final act, remained unclear. At around 1:10 a.m. on July 10th, a single shot rang out. Moat had turned his shotgun on himself, collapsing on the riverbank. He was rushed to hospital but pronounced dead on arrival. Police released a statement confirming he appeared to have shot himself, with no shots fired by officers. An inquest later ruled his death a suicide, though questions lingered about the taser's role. The standoff's end brought relief, but no celebration. Rothbury's residents, who had endured a week of fear, emerged from their homes, grappling with the tragedy that had unfolded in their quiet village. Northumbria police faced scrutiny over the experimental tasers, with debates over their impact haunting the operation's legacy. The manhunt, one of the largest in recent British history, was over, its final moments etched into the community that became Moat's last stage. The end of Raoul Moat's manhunt on July 10, 2010, closed a harrowing chapter, but its wounds lingered, etched into the lives of victims, the Rothbury community, and the nation. In 2011, justice caught up with Moat's accomplices, Carl Ness and Kuram Awan, whose loyalty had fueled his deadly rampage. Ness, who had stood by during the murder of Chris Brown and the attack on Samantha Stobbart, received 3 life sentences with a minimum of 40 years for murder, conspiracy to murder, and attempted murder, plus 7 years for robbery and 5 years for a firearm offense, having helped Moat obtain the guns used in the shootings. Awan, who drove Moat as he hunted police officers, leading to David Rathband's blinding, was sentenced to a minimum of 20 years for conspiracy to murder and attempted murder, alongside 7 years for robbery. Their convictions, handed down in a Newcastle courtroom, marked a reckoning for their roles in the violence that shattered lives. David Rathband, whose life was irrevocably altered by Moat's shotgun, spoke out after the sentencing, his voice heavy with pain and resolve. Both Ness and Awan will be very old people before they are released, or considered for release, and long may they stay there, he said. These 2 individuals, along with the other coward that wasn't man enough to stay here, have taken my job away from me in the fact that I am now blinded for the rest of my life. His words captured the enduring toll of Moat's actions, a loss that went beyond physical wounds to strip away his career and sense of normalcy. Tragically, the weight of those injuries proved too much. In February 2012, Rathband took his own life, unable to adjust to the darkness that Moat's attack had imposed. An inquest revealed his struggle, a stark reminder of the ripple effects of violence. Rathband's daughter, Mia, honored her father's memory later that summer, carrying the Olympic torch while blindfolded in a poignant tribute. She stepped into the role her father had been due to fulfill, embodying his resilience amidst profound loss. Samantha Stobbart, surviving her injuries, faced a long road to recovery, haunted by the trauma of Moat's vendetta and the loss of Chris Brown. In a 2012 interview with The People, she revealed the depth of her pain, admitting she considered suicide upon learning of Rathband's death. "I know what happened will haunt me forever, and I'll never forget it 100%, she said. "But now I'm just trying to move on. If I start putting myself in the position of a victim, then Raoul has won, and I don't want to let him win anymore. I'm going to get through this and not let him hurt me anymore." Her resolve underscored a fight to reclaim her life from Moat's shadow. Rothbury's residents too bore scars, their once quiet village forever marked by fear and the memory of a manhunt that turned their home into a battleground. The operation, costing over £1 million and gripping the nation, left a complex legacy, questions about police tactics, media portrayals, and the human cost of one man's rage. For those touched by Moat's actions, from victims to the community, the scars would never fully heal, a testament to a tragedy that reshaped lives forever. For more stories exploring the effects of crime, subscribe to Crime Pulse and share your thoughts on how communities recover from such events.